A brand new Young Sheldon Season 7 set image has fans convinced that it foreshadows George's death. Things are going well for the Coopers since Sheldon and Mary returned home from Germany. Granted that Young Sheldon Season 7 Episode 5 is quite a letdown for being a filler outing. Under different circumstances, it would have been a solid offering. Unfortunately, this newfound peace for the family won't last too long, with George's confirmed death coming, as evidenced in a Reddit post from me/throwaway 92,834,972. Reagan Revord pranked her on-screen father Lance Barber and shared the moment on Instagram, and her caption has caught the attention of fans. Check out the post below. Executing a jump scare on Barber just as he enters the hair and makeup area for the Big Bang Theory prequel. Revord writes, "Giving Lancy an early heart attack." The Reddit thread is full of reactions from people convinced that this comment foreshadows the way that George will die in Young Sheldon. When George might die in Young Sheldon Season 7. George's death is supposedly unexpected. The Big Bang Theory predetermined George's death before Barber debuted the character. By the time the events of the nerd-centric sitcom started, the Cooper patriarch was already long dead. It has been established that he died just before Sheldon moved away to college, which is happening very soon in Young Sheldon. Because of this, the prequel doesn't have any choice but to tackle tragedy, especially since the show will continue in spirit with Georgie and Mandy's spin-off starring Montana Jordan and Emily Osment. With George's death a foregone conclusion, the question now is when he might die. Assuming that Revord's social media post does indeed foreshadow the Cooper patriarch's demise, then it could happen anytime shortly. The family didn't get into the specifics of the tragedy in the Big Bang Theory, but they have the sense that losing the patriarch was unexpected. This makes George's death so much more nerve-wracking because the currently on break Young Sheldon Season 7 can execute at any point in its upcoming episodes. If CBS wants to end the family series on a high note, however, it needs to happen sooner rather than later. Ideally, Young Sheldon would want to spend as much time as they can with Barber's George, especially since he is a beloved character. That being said, in the bigger scheme of things, delaying his death makes it more difficult to craft a satisfying send-off for the family. Seeing George die in the middle of the season would allow the project time to move on from the incident and focus on the future. How George's death impacts the Cooper's future. George's death will affect his family in different ways. Instead of the no-good father that Sheldon and Mary remembered in the Big Bang Theory, the Cooper patriarch is a flawed but devoted family man in Young Sheldon. This makes writing George's upcoming death in the prequel so much more difficult, because his loss will drastically change the trajectory of the family's arc. Instead of focusing on his growing family, Georgie will have to take care of his mother and sister, although it is currently uncertain how this will play out with Missy and Mary not returning for the upcoming Young Sheldon sequel series. Much has been said about the discrepancies between George's portrayals in the two series, but the disparity in Mary also needs to be examined, especially since she was a fixture in the Big Bang Theory. Mary will be too grief-stricken to function over the loss of George, which makes sense, considering that their marriage is currently at an all-time high after several years of struggle. Meanwhile, Missy will expectedly be negatively impacted by the death, especially since she is particularly close to her dad. George's demise could derail her redemption arc and send her down a darker path that leads to her fate in the Big Bang Theory. As for Sheldon, he will never have the chance to clarify what really happened in the George's retconned cheating scandal. Young Sheldon Season 7 reveals George's secret Big Bang Theory impact. George paves the way for Mary's return to church. All members of the Cooper family were somewhat worse in the Big Bang Theory, primarily because the prequel is able to further develop them. Much has been said about the discrepancies between George's portrayals in the two series, but the disparity in Mary also needs to be examined, especially since she was a fixture in the Big Bang Theory. The family comedy has been able to maintain the hallmarks of the Cooper matriarch, particularly her devotion to her faith, After she was kicked out of Pastor Jeff's congregation, however, she separated herself from her known community.